Well, hey, everybody. Just wanted to give you some exciting updates, particularly about forphilly.com and everything we're doing as a church in response to the COVID-19 crisis in our city. But first, I just want to encourage you with something I read in an article earlier this week. The title of the article was this: A Marathoner's Best Advice for Facing a Pandemic, which I think is funny because reading about a marathon is about as close as I'm ever going to get to actually running a marathon. Anyways, the gist of the article was this. She said that she's heard a lot of people say that the season that we're in right now is a marathon, not a sprint. And while that might be true in some ways, in most ways it's not. And she gives 3 reasons why. Number 1, she says a marathon is predictable. You know what you're going to get with a marathon. There's a predictable distance, a somewhat predictable amount of time. And when you start, you know where the finish line is. She says this crisis has been anything but predictable. And we don't have a clue where the finish line is. Number 2, she says you train for a marathon. You train your body to endure the physical challenge. You train your mind to endure the mental challenge. And she goes, ain't nobody trained for this pandemic. It just happened. We were not ready. Number 3, she says marathons have cheering sections. You know, in this pandemic, many of us have been isolated from our places of support and encouragement. There's no cheering section. And then she goes on and she asks a really important question. She says, so how do we keep running? And this is where I thought her advice was absolute gold. She says, hey, don't sugarcoat the reality. This is tough. That's the reality. Once you acknowledge that, then you can move on to the only moment you need to face. This one, the one you're in right now. You see, a 26.2 mile race is overwhelming. And so you have to keep telling yourself that the only mile I have to run is the one I'm in right now. Worrying about the miles ahead will paralyze, discourage, and drag you down. She says, I know I can run a mile. I've run thousands of miles in my lifetime. You know, during this crisis, long-term planning is critical. It's important. But she says, I'll find the strength to endure if I just show up for what's needed in this moment. The call to run the mile that we're in is a call to stay present in this day, in this moment. And when we do, we'll find the strength and endurance that we need, one moment and 1 mile at a time. Isn't that good? Listen, I know it's hard to know where the finish line is right now. I know that you weren't prepared for this, and I know it feels like you've been cut off from your cheering section. This is tough, but the only moment that you need to face right now is this one. The only mile you have to run is the one you're in. And you can run a mile. You've run thousands of miles before, and you're going to be able to run this one too. Man, I hope that this encourages you to just keep putting one foot in front of another. I want you to know that we're in your corner. We're thinking about you. We're praying for you, and we're cheering you on. And if you need anything at all, just reach out. We got you. Now, to the update. This past week on Sunday, I shared our plan for how we're responding to the COVID-19 crisis in our city. And I let you know that we're going to focus on food insecurity. Now, food insecurity is one of Philadelphia's biggest challenges, but we want to be part of the solution. And so we created a website called forphilly.com. There, people can sign up to pack boxes of food, distribute boxes of food, or deliver boxes of food to our neighbors that are in need. I'm super happy to be able to report to you that last week, we got 1,500 30 to 40 pound boxes of food to 1,500 families that were in need. That's just over 45,000 pounds of food. And we also sold about 700 For Philly t-shirts, and the money from that is going to be able to feed about 1,400 families, which comes to 42,000 pounds of food. And so far this week, we've lined up 309 people to serve through the website, which is amazing. Church, you're doing an incredible job. I want you to know, though, that 300 people serving is great, but we actually have lined up opportunities for 700 people to serve each week. So if you haven't signed up to serve, now's the time. I got to go out on Tuesday. I made 8 deliveries. It took me about an hour and 15 minutes. It was planned, it was organized, it was safe. It was a great time. Listen, like I said on Sunday, this is our moment to rise up and love our neighbors in need. If you didn't get a t-shirt, go ahead and get your shirt. If you did, that's awesome. Now it's time to not just wear a shirt that says you're for Philly. Now's the time to step up and do something that shows that you're for Philly. Okay? Hey, this Sunday, we're going to talk about how you can follow the example of Jesus and love your neighbors well in the middle of this crisis. So don't miss it. I'll see you then. Hey, like I said, we're praying for you. We're thinking about you. If you need anything at all, reach out to us. Together, we're going to make a difference in our city. Good things ahead.